When the security guards laughed at the dirty girl who appeared in the mansion, they did not imagine that in just an hour she would do the impossible. A vault that defeated the world's top experts for 50 years was about to reveal a secret that would make a powerful millionaire cry like a child. But what she found inside changed not only her life, but his too, in a way neither could have predicted. Before continuing, if you believe in stories of overcoming and want to receive more inspiring content every week, subscribe to the channel and activate the Tinkerbell. It helps me keep bringing real stories that touch the heart. And stay until the end, because the lessons Sophia learned can completely change the way you see your own challenges. Now, let me tell you how it all started. The rain beat hard against the windows of the abandoned building where Sophia would spend another night. She was only 17, but her eyes carried the weight of one who had already lived 3 lives. On that cold winter night, as she mended her torn coat trying to protect herself from the wind that came through the cracks, she did not imagine that in less than 24 hours her life would change completely. It all started when she saw the ad in the old newspaper she used as a blanket. It was an absurd proposal, almost a bad joke. An eccentric millionaire offered $100 million to anyone who could open an ancient safe that no one had cracked in 50 years. Sophia read that 3 times, thinking it was some kind of prank. But something inside her, that flame that refused to go out even in the face of so much adversity, whispered that she should try. After all, what did she have to lose? His life was already at rock bottom. He had no family, he had no home, he had nothing but his sharp intelligence and an unshakable will to survive. The cold that night seemed to penetrate her bones, but she had learned to ignore the physical discomfort. It was the pains of the soul that really hurt, the memories of what he lost, the memories of better days that seemed to have happened in another life with someone else. She folded the newspaper carefully and put it in the inside pocket of her coat. That old yellowed paper represented something she hadn't felt in a long time: hope. It was a strange feeling, almost uncomfortable after so long living only in survival mode. For 2 long years, every day had been a battle just to keep breathing. Finding food in the garbage dumps of restaurants when hunger was too tight, escape from the dangers that lurked in the shadows of the dark streets. Remain invisible enough not to be disturbed, but present enough not to be completely forgotten by the world. And now, suddenly, there was a possibility. A tiny chance, almost impossible, but still a chance. Sophia closed her eyes and tried to sleep. But her mind did not stop working. She saw the safe in her thoughts, imagined its mechanisms, its cogs, its secrets. Is it really possible that she, a girl with nothing, could achieve something that experts could not? Doubt eroded her confidence, but she pushed it away. There was no room for doubt now, only for action. Sophia was not born on the streets. She had memories of a different life, of a time when there was hot dinner on the table and hugs before bed. His father was a talented watchmaker, a craftsman who repaired antique parts with impressive delicacy. It was from him that she inherited a passion for mechanisms, for understanding how things work from the inside. On sunny childhood afternoons, she would sit next to him in the workshop, watching his skilled hands disassemble centuries-old clocks, clean every tiny gear, and then assemble everything back together as if by magic. He used to say that each mechanism has a soul, its own logic that needs to be understood and respected. That it was not enough just to know the techniques. You had to feel the rhythm, listen to what the piece had to say. Sophia absorbed every word, every gesture, every teaching, as if they were precious treasures. And they were. She didn't know it at the time, but those quiet afternoons in the workshop were preparing her for a future she could never have imagined. But life has a cruel way of destroying dreams. When Sophia was 15 years old, a fire devastated her house. She lost everything that terrible night. He lost his father, he lost his mother, he lost the home he knew. She still remembered the smell of smoke, the desperate screams, the feeling of utter helplessness as the flames consumed everything she loved. Suddenly, she was alone in the world, with no relatives to take her in. The welfare system tried to help, but she fled the shelter after 6 months of abuse and humiliation. He preferred to face the streets, to continue in that place that seemed to suck his soul day after day. The other children were cruel, the adults indifferent, and every night in that place was a new wound in his already bruised spirit. For 2 years, she survived as she could. She took food where she could find it, slept where she could find shelter, and kept her dignity intact, even when the world around her tried to break her. There were times when she thought of giving up, of simply letting the cold or hunger take her, but whenever it came close to that point, she remembered her father. He faced every challenge with patience and determination, of how he never gave up on a watch, no matter how damaged it was, and she decided that she would not give up on herself. Not yet. Not as long as there was a thread of hope, however tenuous. The next morning brought a clear sky after the storm. Sophia got up early, shook off the dust from her clothes, and made a decision. She would go to the millionaire's mansion and try her luck with the safe. He had nothing to lose, and who knows, maybe his father's teachings could serve for something other than painful memories. The mansion was in the noblest district of the city, a brutal contrast to the dirty streets where she lived. The journey there took almost 2 hours walking, through increasingly clean neighborhoods, increasingly tree-lined streets, until finally he arrived in front of the imposing wrought iron gate. As she approached, the security guard looked her up and down with evident contempt. She was dirty, her hair disheveled, her clothes torn and stained. She looked exactly what she was, a street girl with no apparent future. The uniformed man crossed his arms and asked what she wanted there. Sophia took the newspaper out of her pocket and showed the advertisement, saying that it was there because of the safe. The security guard laughed out loud, a harsh laugh that echoed through the clear morning air. He called his colleague to share the joke, as if it were an entertainment for that monotonous morning. The two men laughed together, making comments to each other about the audacity of that dirty girl who thought she could get into a mansion like that. Sophia felt her face burn with shame, but did not retreat. She had faced worse things on the streets. He kept his head up and calmly repeated that he wanted to try to open the safe, that the announcement did not specify who might or might not try. There was a determination in her voice, a quiet strength that finally made the men stop laughing. One of them picked up the radio and, still smiling in disbelief, warned the mansion about the situation. To everyone's surprise, the answer that came was to let the girl in. The owner of the house himself, the famous businessman Marcus Rothwell, had said that anyone who had the courage to appear should have the chance to try. The security guards looked at each other, clearly confused, but opened the gate. Sophia walked past them with her head held high, ignoring the incredulous looks. She walked through the immaculate garden, feeling completely out of place. Every step he took in that world of luxury seemed to echo his poverty. The perfectly arranged flowers, the grass cut with millimeter precision, the marble statues, everything seemed to scream that she didn't belong there. But she kept going, because quitting was never an option she seriously considered. The mansion was even more impressive inside. Crystal chandeliers hung from the high ceiling. Polished marble floors reflected the golden morning light. Artwork on the walls probably cost more than she could earn in several lifetimes. It was like entering a museum, or maybe a palace. An elderly butler, impeccably dressed, led her through wide corridors into a huge room. And there, in the center of the room, on a raised platform as if it were an exhibition piece, was he. Marcus Rothwell was about 60 years old. Perfectly combed grey hair, impeccable suit of Italian cut, and a cynical smile on his face. Next to him was the safe. It was a magnificent piece, from the 19th century, made of steel and bronze, covered with intricate engravings that told stories of a bygone era. The mechanisms visible on the surface were complex, a combination of art and engineering that took your breath away. Marcus looked at her with a mixture of amusement and curiosity, like someone watching an exotic animal in a zoo. He had made that challenge public because he was bored, because he wanted to have fun watching people fail, trying to solve his impossible riddle. Hundreds had already tried, renowned vault experts hailing from all over the world, engineers with decades of experience, brilliant mathematicians, even crypto experts hired by governments. They all failed. And now a street girl appeared, dirty and ragged, with the audacity to think she could succeed where others had failed. Marcus made a broad gesture toward the safe, still smiling with that expression of someone who already knows the end of the story. He said, in a voice dripping with condescension, that she had an hour to try, just like everyone else before her. That he had promised $100 million and was a man of his word, but that she should know that specialists with sophisticated equipment had already tried everything. Sophia did not answer. He simply walked to the vault and knelt before it. The silence in the room was heavy, broken only by the sound of her knees touching the cold floor. She closed her eyes for a moment and took a deep breath, trying to calm the nerves that were shaking inside her. When he opened them again, it was as if something had changed. She was no longer the frightened street girl in the face of oppressive luxury, but the watchmaker's daughter, the child who had spent hours watching delicate mechanisms being disassembled and rebuilt. His hands, even dirty and calloused by the hard work of survival, touched the cold metal with an almost spiritual reverence. She began to examine every detail, every groove, every small mark on the surface of the safe. His fingers traced the ornate engravings, not just admiring the beauty, but searching for clues, looking for the soul that his father always said the mechanisms possessed. Marcus watched with increasing interest, his posture changing from relaxed to attentive. There was something different about the way she approached the problem. The others came armed with sophisticated tools, complicated theories, electronic equipment that flashed and beeped. She had only her hands and eyes. And something else, something he could not identify, but which intrigued him deeply. Sophia began to spin the discs in the safe slowly, not trying to guess the combination through brute force or mathematical calculations, but listening. She leaned her ear against the cold metal and spun again, her expression concentrated like that of a musician tuning an instrument. Marcus frowned, leaning forward in his leather armchair. What was that girl doing? She seemed to be talking to the vault, as if it could reveal its secrets through metallic whispers that only she could hear. And in a way, that's exactly what was happening. His father had taught that ancient mechanisms have their own voice, that they tell their story if you know how to listen, that every click, every resistance, every barely perceptible sound is a word in a forgotten language. 30 minutes passed. Marcus had stopped smiling completely. He got up from the armchair and approached, watching Sophia's hands work with amazing accuracy. She had identified a pattern in the mechanism, a sequence that was not in the manufacturer's official instructions. The vault had a quirk, a design flaw that had become its most unique feature over the decades. It was like a mechanical digital footprint, something that made it unique among all the vaults in the world. Sophia remembered a watch that her father had once repaired, a rare model made by a Swiss watchmaker at the end of the 19th century. It had exactly the same kind of eccentric mechanism, the same mechanical signature. The manufacturer was the same. Suddenly, it all made sense. The memory of those afternoons in the workshop flooded her mind, and she saw her father's hands working on that antique clock, patiently explaining how that particular craftsman had a unique way of constructing his mechanisms. She adjusted her approach, working with smoother, more delicate movements, respecting the idiosyncrasies of the safe as her father would respect those of a valuable watch. Marcus was now totally absorbed, his mask of cynicism completely undone. He had bought that safe 20 years ago from an auction in Europe, attracted by its beauty and the mystery that surrounded it. And no one, absolutely no one, had come so close to opening it. Experts had used X-rays to map the interior, computers to calculate millions of possible combinations, everything moderner technology could offer. And there was a girl without resources, using only intuition and ancestral knowledge passed from father to daughter, making the impossible seem simple. With 10 minutes to go before the 1-hour deadline expired, something clicked inside the safe. A small sound, barely perceptible to untrained ears, but one that made Sophia's eyes sparkle with renewed hope. Marcus felt his heart race for the first time in years. Would it be possible? She continued, now with more confidence, her fingers dancing over the mechanisms as if playing a delicate musical instrument, each movement a note in a mechanical symphony that only she could hear. And then it happened. With a deep and satisfying final click, the massive vault door slowly opened. The silence that followed was absolute, so dense that it seemed to have physical weight. Marcus stood completely motionless, his eyes wide, staring at the open door as if he were seeing a miracle, something that defied all the laws of probability and reason. Sophia slowly moved away from the vault, her legs shaking from the accumulated tension and adrenaline rush. She had succeeded. He had done what no one else had done in half a century. For a moment, no one moved, no one spoke, as if time had stood still in that sumptuous room. Then Marcus approached the open vault with slow, almost reverent steps. He ran his hand through the heavy door, feeling the metal that had finally given way after decades of resistance, and then did something completely unexpected. He started laughing. It was not the cynical laugh of old, full of superiority and fun at the expense of others, but something genuine, almost emotional, with a quality that sounded dangerously close to sobs. He turned to Sophia with tearful eyes that he didn't try to hide, and his voice came out hoarse when he said that she had no idea what he had just done. Inside the safe, there was not only money or jewelry as she expected. There were documents carefully preserved, papers yellowed by time that he thought he had lost forever. They were his father's last writings, including a detailed farewell letter that Marcus never got a chance to read because the old man died suddenly of a heart attack and the safe was locked with everything inside. For 20 long years, he tried to recover those words, that last piece of his father that remained locked and inaccessible. He had spent fortunes hiring experts, had offered huge rewards, all in the desperate hope of one day reading the last words his father had written. And now, a street girl whom he was ready to ridicule, whom he had looked upon with contempt disguised as amusement, had given him the most precious gift he could imagine. Marcus picked up the letter with trembling hands, the thin, delicate paper looking sacred between his fingers. He read it right there, standing before the open safe, while tears rolled freely down the face that for so long had held a mask of control and cynicism. The letter spoke of love, of pride, of regrets for time not spent together, of advice that could now finally be heard, even if 2 decades late. When he finished reading, Marcus looked at Sophia in a completely different way. He no longer saw a dirty, luckless girl, but someone extraordinary, someone who possessed a rare gift that transcended formal education or social status. Marcus fulfilled his promise without hesitation. That same day, he transferred the $100 million to a bank account opened in Sophia's name, and she looked at the numbers on the screen without being able to really process what they meant. But he did more than that. He offered her something money couldn't buy, something infinitely more valuable, a family. He had no children, His wife had died of cancer 5 years earlier, and his huge mansion echoed with loneliness despite all the opulence. He asked Sophia to stay, not as an employee or protégé for charity, but as the daughter he never had and now discovered he had always wanted. At first, Sophia didn't know how to react to this offer that seemed too good to be true. She had spent so much time alone, so much time building barriers around her heart to protect it from further pain, that she had forgotten what it was like to have someone who genuinely cared. But little by little, day by day, she allowed those emotional barriers to begin to crumble. She allowed that sumptuous mansion to become a real home, not just a shelter. Marcus enrolled her in the best private schools in the city, but quickly discovered that she did not need teachers to be brilliant. She absorbed knowledge like a thirsty sponge, especially anything related to engineering, mechanics, physics. With the money she now had, Sophia created a foundation dedicated to helping homeless youth, giving them the opportunities, education, and support she barely had. She never forgot where she came from, never allowed luxury and comfort to erase the scars that formed her and made her who she was. Marcus, in turn, found purpose again in a life that had become empty and meaningless. He and Sophia began to travel the world together, collecting antique mechanisms, visiting artisan watchmakers, workshops, restoring historical pieces together in the workshop he built especially for her in the mansion. It was the therapy they both needed, a way to honor the parents they lost and build something new and beautiful over the ruins of the past. Years later, on a starry night on the balcony of the mansion, Sophia was now 23 years old and held in her hands an antique pocket watch that she had just completely restored. Marcus was beside her, hair now completely white, but eyes still alive with purpose and love. She looked at him and smiled, that smile that had become more and more frequent and genuine over time, replacing the closed and guarded expression that she had carried for so long. He put his hand on her shoulder with fatherly affection and said he was proud that his biological father would be too if he could see her now. Sophia felt the tears rise, but they were good tears, of gratitude and fullness, not of pain. She thought about everything she had been through, the cold nights sleeping in abandoned buildings, the despair that almost completely consumed her, and realized with crystal clear clarity that everything had led up to that perfect moment. Every pain had a purpose, every struggle made her stronger, wiser, better able to appreciate happiness when it finally came. Marcus then handed her a thick envelope. Inside was the deed to the manor and all its assets, now legally transferred to his name. He said in a soft but firm voice that when her time came to leave this world, everything would be hers, not out of obligation or charity, but out of true and deep love. Sophia embraced the man who had become her father, her mentor, her dearest friend. And there, under the endless stars, she finally understood a fundamental truth. It is not the steel vaults that hold life's greatest treasures. They are the vaults of the heart, which open not with complex mechanisms or secret combinations, but with courage, kindness, perseverance, and the unwavering will to never give up, even when everything seems impossible. Because in the end, the girl won not only for being the smartest or having the right skills, but for being the one who believed the most when everyone else laughed and mocked, for having kept the flame of hope burning when it would have been much easier to let her die. And that's a lesson that no amount of money, not even $100 million, can buy or teach.